Hi, welcome to our channel Programming of Mind, where we accelerate your knowledge with concise, from high-value book summaries. Let's begin how to win people to your way of thinking. The subtle art of persuasion, one of the most powerful tools in human interaction, is the ability to persuade others to see things from your perspective. Whether you're trying to gain support for an idea, convince someone to change their mind, or simply get others to agree with your point of view, understanding how to influence others in a respectful and persuasive way can make all the difference. The key to successful persuasion lies not in forcefully pushing your ideas onto others, but in gently guiding them to your way of thinking, making them feel that their input is valued, and encouraging collaboration. Real-life example. The power of asking for small favors. One of the most effective ways to win people to your way of thinking is by getting them to take small actions that align with your viewpoint. This technique is rooted in the principle of commitment and consistency, which states that once people take a small step in a particular direction, they're more likely to continue down that path. Consider the example of John, a manager at a marketing agency who was trying to convince his team to adopt a new project management tool. Rather than making a top-down decision and simply telling his team to use the tool, John asked each team member to try it out for a week and provide feedback on their experience. By framing it as a simple trial run, John avoided resistance and allowed his team to feel like they were part of the decision-making process. As a result, the team members felt a sense of ownership over the process, and by the end of the week, most of them were convinced that the new tool was more efficient than the old one. By starting with small, low-pressure requests, John was able to shift his team's mindset and win their support without any forceful persuasion. Appealing to the other person's interests. One of the most important things to understand about persuasion is that people are more likely to agree with you when they see how it benefits them. Successful persuasion doesn't rely on manipulating others. It's about aligning your goals with theirs and helping them understand how your ideas can serve their interests. Take the case of Sarah, a community organizer who was trying to get local businesses to support a new initiative aimed at revitalizing the neighborhood. Rather than simply asking for donations or support, Sarah took the time to understand what each business valued. For example, she learned that a local coffee shop owner, Tim, was passionate about sustainable practices. She then tailored her pitch to show how supporting the initiative could help Tim achieve his goal of being recognized as an eco-friendly business. By framing the initiative in a way that aligned with Tim's interests and values, Sarah was able to secure his support, and soon other businesses followed suit. By understanding what motivates people and appealing to their interests, Sarah was able to build a coalition of supporters who were genuinely invested in the success of the project. The importance of being sympathetic to the other person's views in any persuasive interaction. It's crucial to be empathetic toward the other person's perspective. People are far more likely to be persuaded when they feel understood and respected. If you push your point too aggressively, you risk alienating the other person. On the other hand, showing empathy allows you to find common ground and gently guide them toward your perspective. Take the example of James, a teacher who was trying to convince his students to adopt a new learning strategy. Many students were initially resistant to the change, as they were comfortable with their old ways of studying. Instead of simply telling them that they were wrong and that they needed to change, James took the time to acknowledge their concerns. He said, "I understand that you've been studying this way for years and that it's hard to change. But I believe this new strategy could make your learning more efficient and help you retain information better in the long run." By acknowledging their feelings and showing empathy, James was able to ease their resistance. His students felt understood, and as a result, many of them were more open to trying the new strategy. By showing sympathy for others' viewpoints, you create an atmosphere of trust and mutual respect, making it much easier to persuade them to see things your way. Avoiding arguments. The power of agreement when it comes to persuasion. One of the most effective strategies is to avoid direct confrontation or arguments. Arguing tends to escalate tension and causes people to become defensive, which makes them less likely to be persuaded. Instead, seek to find points of agreement and build from there. Consider the example of Mark and his colleague, Claire, who were discussing a potential change in the company's marketing strategy. Claire was initially resistant to Mark's suggestions, but instead of pushing harder or arguing, Mark took a different approach. He started by acknowledging the strengths of Claire's ideas and saying, "I think you've made some great points about the direction we should take." Then, he gently introduced his own perspective, framing it in a way that complemented Claire's ideas rather than contradicting them. By focusing on agreement and collaboration rather than confrontation, Mark was able to win Claire over and secure her support for the new strategy. This approach is far more effective than getting into an argument, as it encourages a more cooperative and open-minded atmosphere. Letting the other person feel the idea is one of the most powerful persuasion techniques, is to make the other person feel like the idea was their own. People are far more likely to support something they feel ownership over. This can be achieved by subtly guiding the conversation and allowing the other person to come to the conclusion themselves. Imagine you're working on a project with a colleague, Rachel, who is hesitant about a new approach. Rather than simply telling her that your idea is the best, try asking leading questions that encourage her to consider the benefits of your proposal. For example, what do you think would happen if we tried this new method? Or, how do you think this could improve our current process? By asking these questions, you subtly guide Rachel to the conclusion you want her to reach. When she agrees with the idea, she will feel a sense of ownership, making her more committed to its success. This technique works because people are more likely to support ideas they perceive as their own, even if those ideas were gently influenced by someone else. The power of asking questions is one of the most effective ways to persuade others, as it encourages them to think critically and consider your perspective without feeling pressured. When you ask the right questions, you give others the opportunity to arrive at the conclusion on their own, which is far more persuasive than simply telling them what to think. Consider the case of Tom, a leader of a nonprofit organization who was trying to persuade his board of directors to increase funding for an important project. Instead of directly telling them why the project was crucial, Tom asked questions like, "What do you think the impact will be if we don't invest in this initiative?" Or, "How do you feel about the potential long-term benefits of this project?" These questions prompted the board members to think critically about the situation and come to the conclusion that funding the project was necessary. By asking thoughtful questions, Tom was able to persuade the board without pressuring them, allowing them to come to the decision on their own. Making the other person feel important ultimately, one of the most persuasive things you can do is to make the other person feel important. People are far more likely to support your ideas when they feel valued and respected. Acknowledging their contributions, showing genuine interest in their opinions, and making them feel like their input matters can go a long way in winning them over to your side. Take, for example, Helen, a team leader who was trying to get her team on board with a new initiative. Rather than simply issuing a directive, Helen took the time to ask each team member for their thoughts and ideas. She actively listened to their feedback and incorporated their suggestions into the plan. By making each person feel that their opinion was valuable, Helen was able to gain the support of the entire team. People want to feel that they matter, and when you show them that their ideas are important, they will be more likely to support your vision and work with you toward a common goal. Conclusion. The art of persuasion is about mutual respect. The art of persuasion isn't about manipulation or coercion. It's about mutual respect, understanding, and finding ways to align your goals with those of others. By using empathy, avoiding confrontation, asking thoughtful questions, and making others feel valued, you can gently guide people to your way of thinking without pushing or forcing them. Effective persuasion is about building relationships, creating a sense of trust, and encouraging collaboration. When people feel understood, respected, and involved, they are far more likely to support your ideas and work with you toward a shared vision. Mastering the art of persuasion is a key skill that can help you succeed in both your personal and professional life, enabling you to inspire others and achieve your goals with integrity and confidence. Thank you for listening, and please like the video and subscribe for more great upcoming content that will put you in top 1% people in the world.